Welcome to the FSCA 5-Minute Business Update in Logistics, where we break down real-world supply chain challenges and explain how planning keeps goods moving. I'm your host, Yami, and joining me today is Summer, our subject matter expert in logistics and supply chain management. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk about how planning affects supply chains, especially right here in Jacksonville, Florida.
Right. To begin with, Jacksonville has become one of Florida's most important logistic hubs, thanks to its port, rail access, and major highways. But with growth come challenges. Today, we are discussing how recent supply chain disruptions have affected Jacksonville and how planning helps organizations adapt. Let's start with local challenges. Another issue we hear about a lot in logistics is the ongoing truck driver shortage. How is that affecting supply chains here in Jacksonville?
The driver shortage has a significant impact locally. Jacksonville does rely heavily on trucking to move the cargo from Jacksport to distribution centers across Florida and the Southeast. With fewer drivers available, companies are experiencing longer delivery times and higher transportation costs. Our textbook does explain that when labor availability is a critical constant in supply chain planning, and then when the drivers are limited, it affects the entire network.
So, even if the port and warehouses are operating efficiently, transportation becomes the bottleneck.
Exactly. And that's why companies are adjusting their planning strategies by offering them higher wages, optimizing their routes, and investing in regional distribution centers that are closer to the customers to reduce their reliance on long haul trucking.
Mhm. How does planning help organizations manage these issues locally?
Planning plays a huge role. For example, the companies that are relocating closer to the port or major highways are doing so to reduce their transit times and fuel costs. A Jacksonville based furniture company relocated its distribution operations closer to the port after experiencing shipping delays in other locations. This strategic planning move cut delivery times and lowered their costs. The textbook emphasizes that aligning facility location and transportation planning improves both responsiveness and customer satisfaction.
Also seen major investments in logistics facilities in Jacksonville. But why is that important?
Large scale investments, such as new distribution centers that are being built in North Jacksonville, does show how local companies are planning for long term growth. These facilities will allow businesses to hold more inventory that is closer to their customers. This will reduce lead time, improve their service levels, and according to our textbook, effective supply chain planning balances the inventory costs with service requirements. And these expansions are a very clear example of that strategy in action.
Mhm. And lastly, what's the biggest lesson a student should take away from Jacksonville's logistics growth?
Really, the key takeaway here is that planning is proactive and not reactive. Companies that anticipate their demand, infrastructure limits, and transportation constraints are generally better prepared to handle disruptions and to stay competitive.
All right, well, that wraps up today FSCA 5-Minute Business Update in Logistics. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next time.